If you're not listening to the Smoke World podcast, you're wasting your time, you mortal.
What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Smoke World. I'm your host, Stone. So go grab that stick, go grab a glass, whatever you're drinking. Let's sit back and have a conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at Smoke World Podcast. Email stone@smokeworldpodcast.com. And the website that we're so excited about, smokeworldpodcast.com. Go check that website out. We got some cigar deals going on there. We got some great sponsors. So if you haven't checked out the webpage, I don't know where you've been, but go check it out. On this episode, I am privileged to sit down with the lovely ladies of the Pairings Cigar Lounge. The cigar lounge is located in Media, PA. We had this conversation at one of the Smoke World Tuesdays. Now you may ask, what is Smoke World Tuesdays? If you haven't been paying attention, then you don't know. But I'll be happy to tell you. Smoke World Tuesdays take place on the third Tuesday of each month at the Spartan Cigar Lounge down in Elkton, Maryland. We sit down live, we talk to a guest, they share some ideas, we share some thoughts, and we have a conversation. So if you're in the area, come check us out. Third Tuesday each month, Smoke World Tuesdays at the Spartan Cigar Lounge. But again, back to our lovely guests, Debbi and Julie of Pairings Cigars, located in Media, PA, which is a lovely cigar lounge. Been there several times. Nice layout, bar, great selection of cigars. Might have to fight for parking a little bit, but I think they've got that under control. But nonetheless, let's get into this episode. Again, folks, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. I truly appreciate you listening. I'll get the word right. Did I say appreciate? No, that didn't come out right. Mind your business. Mind your business. Like I was drinking. I appreciate your support. So let's get into this episode, folks. But today, we're really privileged to have the young ladies who own the Pairings Cigar Lounge, located in Media.
Thanks for the young.
Yes,
Around
absolutely.
saying, who's here?
Absolutely. Debbi and Julie. So we're going to kind of get to a conversation about, again, we'll start maybe with Debbi. Born, first of all, where you from?
Okay. I'm a Jersey girl.
Oh, okay.
Originally. Born and raised. Live now in Pennsylvania, right outside of Media in a town called Wallingford. And Julie and I have been the co-owners of Pairings now for almost 5 years. And we both got into smoking cigars at different points in our lives, and we didn't know each other. But when we met, it was one of those things, so do I. Oh, we've known each other for,
19 years this summer.
Wow. We met, we were in a group together in 2002, and we just hit it off. We just had the same kind of look at life, and we've just gotten to know each other, and over dinner, she got to know my husband, Gary, and we just got to be great friends. And you want to tell the story of how Pairings started?
Sure. So, as Debbi mentioned, we've been friends for almost 20 years, and we spent a lot of time as friends. Gary, Debbie's husband, myself, Debbi, and oftentimes just dinner at their house, and they would always provide dinner and usually wine, and I would bring cigars if it was seasonal for us to smoke outside, because you don't smoke in Debbie's house. So that's yes, that's another reason why the bar opened. But that's another. I digress. But so this became kind of our rhythm.
Okay.
Right, and so it would have been December of 2014. And it was right before Christmas, and we were meeting to go to a local theater for a show and have dinner in Media, the town where Pairings is located, which we live near and spent a lot of time in. And so we're at dinner, and we're just talking about, gosh, it's the winter time, and it'd be so great after a night like this to go have a cigar, but to go downtown to Philly, to the cigar bar there, right? It's $30 to park. You got to walk 5 blocks in the snow, and then you got to walk up 400 stairs. To get there, right? So we're like, you know what? It's the phrase that just lingered. I said, Media needs a cigar bar.
That's right.
And so in that moment, Gary and Debbie looked at each other and they're like, that's an interesting idea. And then it just never went away. So we started to talk to different people about, where would we find a location? And of course, we really knew we wanted a liquor license, which in Pennsylvania is a little bit of a challenge.
Yes.
So that was something that we were really adamant about. So we started to do some investigation. Can we find one? Is one available? Can we get it in our county? All of the questions that you have to answer in Pennsylvania. And so everything just kind of started to fall in front of us over the next 6 months.
Okay.
And it came down to, okay, we could do this. And so literally, Debbie asked the question, are we doing this? Like, this is what it'll take. The universe just put everything in our lap. It's yes or no. And here we are. So a crazy little offhand comment turned into
A reality.
to where we are today. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so how challenging was it to find a location in media? Because I'm from Philly. I'm a Philly guy.
Okay.
So now, how challenging was that to find a location? Did you figure you wanted a storefront? Did you want to stand alone? Were these conversations for the group? And what decision was made or based on what was available?
Well, I think we wanted storefront because we wanted to be in the heart of media.
Okay.
Media is a town that, when I moved to this area about 22 years ago, media was just beginning to come back. It had a little bit of a slump, but more and more restaurants were coming in, and the restaurants were terrific. So we thought we could capitalize on that restaurant traffic to have people get to see us, get to know us. We could be a before cigar and a drink, before dinner, maybe an after, and then just kind of get to their DNA, as we have said.
Gotcha.
Let's get into people's DNA. And we didn't know that we could do that on a site that wasn't on State Street. That was really right in the heart. And there were a couple of open shops at the time. The shop we have now, where Pairings is, was a closed-up hair salon. That when you looked at it, you saw nothing that you wanted to see. It was very Italianate. It was very, it's like, okay, it's not going to look like this. And the owner said, well, I don't know, a cigar bar, and he kind of let it hang there. And about 6 months later, he called us and said, okay, I'm ready to talk. So I said, okay. And that's where we went. So we gutted the place, worked with, we decided we really wanted a good industrial designer, somebody to really help us design the space, and she did a wonderful job of really creating what we thought were good spaces to sit, like good pods, if you will. Came up with the idea of cabinets versus a humidor right away, so we opened up just for cabinets, and opened our doors in October of 2016.
Correct.
And didn't know what to, I'll be honest, and we talk about this all the time, we didn't know what to expect. We thought it was a great idea. We were all gung-ho about it. We said, what if this doesn't fly? Well, you know what? It's a lesson learned. And we all said, we could do this. We had a liquor license, to Julie's point. We got very lucky with that. And we got a good deal on a liquor license. We knew that was going to be the asset that was going to make the difference of, we can make a go of this no matter what. Because at least we've got an asset that we can always sell if we had to. Well, obviously 5 years in, we're not worried about that at this point. And it really took off. People were like, wow, I always said we should do something like this in media, and you were the guys that did it. It's like, so other people had those conversations over dinner.
Right.
Ours just was, we couldn't let it go. It never left our head after that. To Julie's point, she made that throwaway comment, which could have been just okay, let's go to the theater. But we kept talking about it and talking about it. It became an obsession.
It did.
And lo and behold, it was probably the best idea. And then our next worry was, some people open businesses together, and like a year later, they can't stand the sight of each other. And yet here we are, better friends than ever, thoroughly enmeshed in each other's lives. And, Julie and her partner, and me and my partner, we just all get along. And it works. I don't know what the alchemy is. I can't tell you.
No.
I can't define it. I can only tell you it does. We have the best clientele. We enjoy ourselves every time we're there. I call it my happy place, because it is the only place I let these two smoke. She and my husband, well, other than the deck at my house. You're not smoking on my couch. So it just
What
works
she
for us.
doesn't know.
Oh, well, she knows. Oh, no.
Snitches get stitches.
She knows. She has a nose like a bloodhound and ears like a bat. She knows. But it just works, and we've met some of the most amazing people.
Yes.
We have the most amazing community that come to Pairings,
And staff, we've
yeah,
been so blessed.
our team is
terrific.
phenomenal.
Yep.
So the universe doesn't make mistakes.
Did you find the staff to be one of the hardest challenges? Yeah.
Well, yes and no. I will tell you that where we are now is certainly the best group we have, and a lot of who we have now are people that just kind of came to us organically. Our manager currently, Devin, was a customer originally, then came on as a part-time bartender, and became our GM about a little over 2 years ago.
Yep.
So that
amazing.
came very organically, and I think every other person who works at Pairings now, we have obviously our manager and then 5 or 6 bartenders, came to us through word of mouth. We've never advertised. And, as you know, it takes a certain kind of person to want to be in an environment like this. And whether you love cigars or you just sort of casually smoke them, you still have to enjoy this kind of environment. But at the same time, we have a bar. So obviously they need to have 2 sets of skills.
Sure.
Right? That you don't normally have in a cigar shop if you need someone who's a good craft cocktail bartender who also understands all of the 100 whiskeys behind the bar, right? And the 50 beers and can speak about those things. So it is, I would say that yes, it could be a big challenge, but we've been very fortunate in the way that our team has evolved into what we have today.
Same here.
Yes, it's so important.
We hired outside of our customer base early on, and that guy lasted 3 days.
Wow. Wow.
He's like,
It's
yeah,
hard.
this isn't for me.
Sure.
And when we opened, it was just myself and one part-timer, so a lot of hours
Sure.
were had.
Sure.
But like you, just customers coming in and just sitting and chatting with them, and my full-time part-timer, if you will.
Right.
He's been with me since almost the beginning, and he's just amazing. I call him my right-hand man, and I
Need that. You do.
you know. And then Randall and Dan, they're very part-time, but they were all customers before they were employees.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I would want it any other way.
Well, they get it, right? Like if
Right.
they were a customer here, then obviously they had some affinity to the place, and they understand perhaps the culture that you have here, and it's much easier to come out of that than to try and be taught that coming in cold, I think.
Right.
So it makes sense. For
Been
sure.
very fortunate.
You have been. That's great.
Now, I have to ask this question. Now, did either one of you have any business experience prior to? What were you doing prior to saying, you know what,
Sure.
let's open up a lounge.
Right.
Let's start a business, because a business in itself could be challenging.
Absolutely.
Well, it is a challenge, and we all came at it. The good thing was we all came at it from very different places. I spent, until about a year ago, about 40 years in corporate America. I was a senior VP of HR for my organization. I was in healthcare. Talk about cognitive dissonance. I'm in healthcare during the day, and I'm encouraging people to smoke
won't
and drink
tell.
at night. Yeah, it was.
You're right.
So I resolved that just by saying balance. Everybody needs balance in their lives. But so my background was HR. My husband was in operations in convenience stores, so he understood the customer service piece, the operations piece, the daily stuff. And Julie's background is
So I've spent most of my career in the sports industry, working in sports marketing. So that's where I come from. I've now transitioned into higher ed, so I teach sports marketing as my day job. So I bring a little bit of that education, which certainly Debbi also appreciates and has in her wheelhouse. So I come from a sports marketing background. I've started 2 of my own businesses over the course of my career as well. So I bring that piece, and then, as Debbi mentioned, her husband brings his wealth of career experience. So the 3 of us have complementary and different skills that mesh together very well. Because you're right, it's one of the things we talk about, and we've had conversations with other people in the industry on the rep or manufacturer side, is a lot of people open cigar shops for one of 2 reasons, but never both. In most cases, they either love cigars and think this will be fun, and I see a lot of those crash and burn.
Yes.
Or I see people who come at it strictly from a bottom line profit standpoint and don't understand the culture. And so that oftentimes can be off-putting to a customer base. So I think when you can have both of those things, and I can only speak for our experience, But I think having both of those things has been part of our success because we do appreciate the culture. We hang out at Pairings. We don't work there per se because our staff doesn't want us in their way. But, you know, so on a nighttime, like I go in, I do cigars, but I'm not there working. So we go there and enjoy being there and talking to customers and hanging out with them. But at the same time, the three of us can have, you know, very, very intense business discussions about what we're going to do this year and what's our long-range plan and how we're going to, you know, where are we going to put our different energies and things. So we can have both of those things together. And I think that that's been part of our success is that we understand how to operate a business.
Great.
From a lot of different perspectives. And we also appreciate the cigar culture, so it just fits.
Gotcha. So now the person may be listening to this and say, you know what, I'm inspired. I hear this story. I think I want to try this out. What advice could you give them? And maybe some of the do's and don'ts, some of the lessons that you have learned on this journey.
It's a great question.
It's a great question. That's hard to unpack a little bit. That's I think for us, we started with it, and we started with the notion, and I think you have to start from someplace and hold tight to that value. If your values are about what you want your business to be, stay intact. You know, all the other things, the decoration, all the artifacts, everything, they change. But our value really was, we felt like what we could offer people that was different than just going to a bar and hanging out or going to a cigar shop, buying cigars and leaving was an experience. So we think of it as the Pairings experience. So when you come to Pairings, the experience you should have is someone's going to not only greet you, but help you. You could be a newbie to cigars, or you could be really experienced. We're going to try to influence your thinking about what you're smoking. We also, because as Julie is amazingly a cigar aficionado of the first degree, also she's a social marketing beast. Nobody does social marketing. Oh my God, her social marketing is better than anybody's in the industry, in my opinion. I do sort of the alcohol stuff, and because I am always willing to try new things to drink, I don't know what that makes me. I'm a functional alcoholic.
We don't judge. We don't judge.
No judgment zone. Thank you, Storm. Thank you,
It
Dawn.
makes you a smart businesswoman.
But
Absolutely.
I've developed a palate for scotches, for bourbons. Julie's dabbling in tequilas now. So I started out being a wine person, but now my palate is so much more broad that when people say, what do I pair this with? It's like, hey, what do you like to drink? So we talk about the flavor wheels of cigar versus rum or versus bourbon or scotch, and where do you want to sit on that flavor wheel? And there's no right or wrong answer. That's the beauty of it. You could take a very robust cigar and take a very light scotch, or vice versa. You could smoke a Connecticut and have a full peated scotch and go, this is the best thing I've ever, because the pairing was right for you for that night. What did you eat? You know, what are you in the mood for? What kind of a day did you have? And because we want that experience to be right, we ask those questions. And our staff is very adept at that.
Okay.
And, somebody comes in and they say, I only smoke infused. Okay. And then eventually it's, there are other cabinets here. We've tried other things. And not that infused is bad, because, look, they're great sellers for us. It's not about that. But there's so many other things to try. So, and Julie's still influencing my thinking on cigars because I'm one, I get in my wheelhouse and I stay there, and she's always yanking me out, saying, you gotta try this, and she's right. So we complement each other very well that way, but I really think the Pairings experience is really all about making you feel special when you come in, giving you, a really good stick and a really good drink, and just letting you sit back and be with the people you're with, have a good time, and we're gonna take care of the rest.
Nice. I'm assuming now, because the name, we're going to talk about that.
Sure.
And she mentioned the word pairing
Yes.
a few times in our conversation. So,
You noticed that, did you?
Yeah, I noticed that.
Subliminal.
So,
Very subliminal.
let's talk about that name, okay? Because obviously, as cigar smokers, that's a lot of things we say, what do you pair your cigar with?
Yes.
So is that a concept, an idea that said, you know what, let's name it pairing? So
Yes.
you tell me, again, I don't want to jump in.
No.
You ladies tell me on the naming.
Obviously,
What
you were
was-
there. And you heard the conversation. 'Cause that was
exactly it.
That was it. It was, I think intentional pairing can yield a better experience. So yeah, you can come in and say, I just like this and I just like this. Fine. We don't argue with you, but if you're asking for some advice, we're going to help you pair.
Yep.
We're going to help you put that together, because you don't have to stick with scotch. You don't have to stick with bourbon. You can go anywhere on the wall of alcohol we have. But the idea is to try things. and to discover what pairing works for you and which ones don't. Because you may find 2 or 3 that you love and one, I don't want to do that again. Don't. But to know that you can go someplace and they're going to work with you on that, I think makes us just a little different.
Definitely. I definitely believe that because, again, there's so many cigars out there, number one, so many different alcohols and spirits.
Yep.
And that's the great thing about the cigar culture that, maybe somebody, hey, have you ever had this cigar? Like, no, I never even heard of that cigar. Hey, try this out. And they turn you on to something new, whether that be a cigar or the spirit.
Yep.
And then you found yourself a new pairing with a new drink and a new cigar.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So that's what I love about the cigar culture. Now let's talk about the palate. Let's start with you, Dan. What's your palate? What do you like to smoke? What's your pairing? If you have a favorite?
I do.
She does.
I do.
She does.
And my problem is because I am a creature of habit, I tend to go back to it all the time, which is why I'm grateful for Gary and for Julie. Both of them will pull me out of that. My palate goes to a mild to medium cigar. You put a Davidoff, signature in front of me, and you are my best friend for a very long time. And I like scotches that we don't see everywhere. I did a little bit of reading. I did a little bit of watching documentaries. And I found Brook Laddie, and I found a great classic. They have a classic Laddie that is, I was just telling Tony that when she comes to pairings again, and she will, because she said, Scotch? I don't know. I said, no, I have one for you. Because it is crisp, it is light, and to me it can go with my Connecticut, it can go with any robust cigar that Julie will smoke, that's peppery, that's a little more robust, and to me that's a good entree, into it. But there are also some great peaks there. So to me it's one of the things we're going to do, and I'm putting together now, is I want to get like flavor wheels and have them in the bar.
Okay.
So we can talk about, what do you like? Where does it, are you more earthy? Do you lend, when you like to eat steak, is it rare? Is it well done? What tastes do you like? What wines do you like? If you like cabs and really full-bodied wines, you may not want a light scotch. You may want to go right in, to a Macallan 15 or to you may want to you just may want to just hit
expensive.
it. Yeah.
Combination.
Whatever you want. Honestly, there are some first level scotches like Bren and things like that are brilliant.
Singleton is fantastic.
That are brilliant, and it's not going to take up your whole weekly spend.
Right.
But the fact is that it's so individual, and it's also you that day.
Yes.
And,
the mood.
Yeah, what mood are you in? What kind of day did you have?
What have you eaten?
What have
today?
you eaten?
Right.
After a full meal, you may not want a really robust cigar. You may want something a little lighter to digest. You may want, or maybe not. Or you may want to say, I'm there, I'm going to keep going. Okay. Someone like me will say, I'm going to pull it back a little bit. So, and those conversations happen all the time at pairings.
They do.
Okay. Well, how about you, Julie? What do you?
Well,
What's your go? You have a go-to?
I don't.
Okay.
So again, I will sort of, based on the questions that Debbie just mentioned, I'll ask myself that. So if I've had a sort of a heavier meal, I'm more inclined to smoke a fuller-bodied cigar. Earlier in the day, generally won't start there. So it has a lot to do with time of day for me, the kind of day, as Debbie mentioned. Certainly what I've eaten has a big influence on my choices. So I'll run the gamut. I enjoy very mild Connecticut shade cigars, and I enjoy very full-bodied cigars as well. There are some that are a little too much for me, but aside from those, I could really walk into our humidor and I enjoy all of them.
Okay.
I do, with very few exceptions. And again, when we started pairings, I was a vodka and a red wine drinker. And so now my bar at home looks very different. So I have become, thanks to our general manager, who, again, because one of the words that Debbie, I think, used earlier that we try to do is influence. And to have those conversations and say, okay, well, you like this and this. Why don't you just try a taste of this? And so what happened is I discovered tequila. Because to me, tequila was always what you put in a margarita when you're 21. And so I never knew that you could have a sipping tequila.
Yes.
So I have discovered that world, and I'm enjoying that journey immensely. Debbie's influence on me has been Scotch. So she got me to try Bren, which she mentioned, which is one of our very favorite brands. It's another female-owned brand. Allison Park out of New York started this whiskey company after she was a prima ballerina for a number of years. She's a fun story. And so I started with Bren. Again, very light, crisp. It's aged in cognac barrels, so it has a nice sweetness to it. So it's a great entry point as well. But I've since evolved from there. And so now I enjoy different scotches that sort of move along that flavor wheel to different places. So again, I don't have a go-to as much as Debbi does. I have some favorites for sure. But I do like to go in at night if I'm at the bar and ask Devin, you know what I like, you know what I have not had, talk to me. I enjoy that experience immensely.
And you know, I think you did that when we were up to visit.
Did we?
I think you did.
Okay. You guys were drinking old fashions and maybe a bourbon?
He had a bourbon.
Right.
I feel like a good old fashioned will pair with just about anything.
I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more.
I got to tell you this. So I usually use Bullet because it's pretty generic, if you will, for a lack of a better
But
term.
it's a great bourbon for an old fashioned.
You can find it most places.
Yes.
Is what I meant by generic.
Yeah.
But when I was up at your place, I had Elijah Craig.
Yes. Nice.
Small batch.
Yep.
Nice.
I like. It's my new favorite.
We
And of
influenced
course,
you,
I can't
see?
find it anywhere.
And that becomes the problem, especially in COVID. A lot of the supply chains on things. Never mind the fact that bourbon has become popular and therefore it's inherently difficult to find at times, certain brands. But add COVID to the mix, and our bar changes a lot, not because we necessarily are wanting to bring something new in, but out of necessity. But the wonderful thing is there's so many great things out there, and when you kind of experiment like that, you discover new things.
Sure.
So that's happened both for us and for our customer. But that becomes a problem when you find something you love and it's not available.
Right.
Now, speaking of COVID, now I know that kind of changed the game with everything.
Sure.
So again, modifications probably have to be done. So were you open during some period of COVID? Were you able to stay open? Number one. Number two, I think you guys sit outside? Or
We
no?
do not.
Do not. Okay.
We're in town.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
we're not
gotcha.
permitted to
So
have
what was that
outside.
modification? What was going on at the shop during that time?
In Pennsylvania, and I know it's probably different for Tony in Maryland. In Pennsylvania, they shut us down right before St. Patrick's Day last year, and we opened about 6-7 weeks later, but only for what we called grab and go. We couldn't have people sitting in the lounge.
Okay.
But in that off period, Julie and I had customers calling saying, I'd like to smoke at home. So we were doing deliveries. We were bringing cigars to people's doors.
Yeah.
And just saying, don't come out, it's okay. We were hanging it on the door, and we were being very careful, wearing our masks and everything, and driving around. And what we realized was we have an incredibly loyal customer base, and we have a lot of people in the area that really just didn't want to stop smoking cigars, even though they were stuck at home, and we got it. So we just said, you know what, let's just do this. And then when we reopened it just for the grab and go, they started coming to the door, and Devin was back then, and he would meet them at the door and give them their purchases. And when we could reopen, it was with limited seating. So we just took our couches out. We have like 2 seats, so we have pods almost for people to sit. We measured everything out. We're very careful. We tried to make sure that we really were compliant because we wanted to make sure our customers realized that we value their safety as much as we value the experience that they're going to have at Pairings. Seating increase, did happen, so we were able to put a few chairs back. And then the meal happened in Pennsylvania. Then they had this. I guess it was. I don't know when was the.
It was back in, I believe it was June last year.
June, yes. Where they said, okay, but now you have to have a meal if you're going to be serving alcohol. They kind of made bars follow restaurant rules. Because we have a little kitchen, we kind of then styled ourselves as a restaurant. So we said, okay, we have to make them eat a meal. And Julie and I had 24 hours to do this. And this is what I mean by you have to learn to pivot very quickly. We went to Costco and bought hot dogs and buns and chips, and we called it the COVID hot dog. And for $2.50, whether you want it or not, we got a COVID hot dog on your table. And you might want to leave some of it there because if you order a second drink, you have to have food on the table. So we had endless chips, and we found ways to make it work. And our customers had a sense of humor about it. They were delightful. And more often than not, quite frankly, can't buy hot dog. You didn't hear me say that. But it got so popular, it's now on our menu.
Now, speaking of menu, because now you're a lounge who actually does serve food.
Yes.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because not every lounge has that capability, number one. And then number two, I've been there. I got some sandwiches. It's pretty good.
Well,
Thank
So
you.
great.
Thank you.
So
Well,
what concept and idea? You say, okay, we got pairings, but then we're going to serve food. Whose idea was that?
the law.
It was, so in Pennsylvania, if you are a bar, you have to have food.
You have to have food.
Now, a lot of you are sort of what I would call maybe a dive bar. They don't have food. But if you walk in there and say, I want a meal, they have to give you one. So a lot of bars like that will probably have a freezer with 30 hot dogs and a microwave because they have to have a protein on the menu. So we knew that we had to obviously have that. But again, because of our model and what we wanted to be, we didn't want to be that kind of a food option. So we to Debbie's point, we built a small kitchen off of the bar. And we only have 6 or 7 things on there. But we're talking like wings, and we do like a huge big Bavarian pretzel that's like the size of your head.
So good.
We do like
Yeah,
cheesesteaks,
so
egg
good.
rolls, mini crab cakes, things like that. So, small. We're not a restaurant. You're not going to come there and eat dinner. But, when we knew we had to do food, we didn't just want to do hot dogs on a microwave. The joke, of course, is now we sell a lot of hot dogs. But again, we had to do it by the law. So we made the decision to make sure that it was just a different level than just throwaway type stuff. So, we don't make a lot of money on food because we're not allowed to either. Because, again, in Pennsylvania, by law, if you have a smoking bar exemption, you have to do a certain percentage of sales from tobacco and tobacco-related products.
Okay.
And your food can't be more than, I think it's maybe 13% or something. So organically, it's just kind of stayed there. We didn't have to really control that. But that's kind of how the food menu sort of evolved and came to be. And we don't change it very much. People like the wings, and we just kind of stay with what we have, and it just works.
It does, because again, a genius idea of putting it in the media on that strip.
Yep.
Because there are a variety of restaurants in a strip where you can actually go get a dinner.
Yes.
And after dinner, most people like to have a nice cigar.
Sure.
And pair that with a nice drink.
Yeah.
So that was very brilliant on your ladies' behalf.
Thank you. But if you're at the bar too, if you're hungry,
Yeah, it's about drinking makes you hungry.
we want to offer something for you to have, right?
Right.
So you don't say, "Oh, I want to go down the street and get a sandwich or a piece of pizza or whatever and come back." No, we have options here,
Right,
and
that's
so
a
that
beautiful
works
thing.
out. That works out nicely.
Now, Tony, we actually asked our guests a series of questions
Okay.
that we sit down and we do the Smoke Roll Tuesday. So I'm going to let Tony propose these questions
Oh,
to
we're
the
going
ladies.
to there. We're
And
going to
yes,
go there with
yes,
the ladies.
we're going to go there.
Uh-oh.
Do we need to
Brace
be worried?
yourself.
You need to brace yourself.
Nah, you're going to answer
So-
all of them.
Oh, wait.
You're both going to have to answer. So
Throws me
we
under the
did get back on live. Let me just make some shout outs here. We've got Gracie Rodriguez. Hi, Gracie.
Hi,
She says,
Gracie.
Love to listen to all sisters.
Yes, same here.
And then our own Lee Mac is on. I don't know if you're familiar with Lee Mac. He's got some cigar reviews. One's called
Oh, yes.
Argobusta
Yes,
and
yes.
912.
Yep, sure.
And we've got Charlene is out there. And Bill Coyne. Do you know Bill?
Bill.
Back to the pairings thing he said, and I hope, because I don't know what these are, so I don't know if he's being Bill and joking or if they're for real. But he said my favorite pairing, Octomore and a Cottontail.
Oh yes.
Is that
Yes.
a...
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the Octomore is from the Briclotti family, which is the Scotch that Debbi is a big fan of, and the Cottontail is from one of our very favorite boutique brands, Castagli, which I believe I introduced you to when you guys were up. And so they do a cigar called the Cottontail.
Okay.
And yes, Bill has a very good taste, and he's not kidding.
Okay. Well, because I didn't...
I know.
And you know Bill.
I do.
And, of course, tequila.
Yes.
Jerry's one of our regulars here. He
Right.
likes to pair with tequila.
Oh, me
So-
too. I want to meet Jerry.
Tim Rivard says, Tim?
Yes, we do.
And he says, wait a second, I know these awesome ladies.
Hi, Tim.
I have yet to meet Tim. We've met on a live one time.
Okay. Tim's great.
He keeps promising me he's going to come down, but I haven't seen him. COVID. We'll blame COVID.
Blame COVID.
So, and Dennis Carradine says,
Oh, Dennis.
Oh, hey, Dennis.
Hey, Dennis. Dennis is one of our members.
Love
How are you
Pairings.
feeling?
What's up, Dennis?
How are you feeling, Dennis?
He'll let us know in a second. I'm
Okay.
sure.
Wonderful.
So, one question we like to pose, just because it's so much fun.
Okay.
Soap, bar soap, or shower gel?
Bar soap.
Shower gel.
Washcloth, loofah, or just the bar soap?
Loofah.
Loofah.
We ask the guys that, and they get all like up in arms.
They're gonna command
It's a
it with some
girl
bar
question.
soap. Like, really?
They're like, wait,
No
why
washcloth?
What's a loofah?
My favorite is
I don't know
when-
that brand.
My favorite
Yeah.
is when they tell me they only use the bar soap.
Okay.
Yeah.
The soap.
Hopefully they're the only one using it too. And
That's
everybody
right.
else does something else. I'm just saying.
Never got clarity on that. Never got clarity.
Hey, at least they shower.
Good point.
That's very good point. And then, Dave Grillo. What part of Pennsylvania are these ladies from? I'm from Easton. So Pairings is in Media.
Yes, you have to get the address out.
You definitely, you know what, for you, Dan, it's probably an
Easton,
hour.
is he in Easton? About an hour.
About
Yes.
an hour.
Yep.
And
Delaware
I
County.
tell you, it is worth your trip. And when you're there, you can just add us to your trip.
Absolutely.
Because we're just another 40 minutes or so down the road.
Very close from us to
You can
you.
make it a day trip.
We have a lot of customers that come from that part of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Quite a bit.
Well, and it's a nice drive.
Yeah.
Like,
to your
I'm
point.
originally from that area.
Yeah, it's an hour to your point, and we certainly travel to cigar places.
Yes.
To spread the love and check different things out and see what people are doing. And plus, when we're at Pairings, oftentimes, when you own it, you like see things and you're like, oh, I need to do that tomorrow, and so you can't completely unplug.
Right.
But like coming here tonight, like this is fun.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about looking at things as if we're at Pairings. So to go out and see different places, but yeah, I mean, we like to spend time to go out and just see things and take a day.
Absolutely.
In a couple of shops and meet new people and I love it.
We love to do it. We don't do it as often as we'd like. I mean, a child at home, and
Sure, and this place is your
business.
child.
Right,
Yes.
right. But our Friday nights are unwind.
Okay.
We tend to go to a local lounge by home for the same reason. If I'm here, I'm looking, going, I got to do that. Oh, this customer only likes to deal with me.
Right.
So if I'm here, they're going to want to deal with me.
Yep.
So,
Which is great, but you need that other time.
But we need to unwind.
Yes.
And you can do that at another level.
Yes, you can.
I also think coming to different places, and your place is fabulous.
It is.
You come to different
It's an
places,
awesome spot.
and it sparks your creativity.
Yes.
For Julie and I were looking, I said, when we have the time and when we're ready after COVID, a game table. What a great idea.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, okay, how can we do that? Our space is so different space-wise. Could we do that? So we're sitting here kind of, problem solving as we're getting ready to talk to you guys.
That table, I'm sorry not to cut you off.
Yeah, no.
That table was donated by one of our members.
Nice.
And
That's beautiful.
same concept. I'm like, where am I going to put a dominant table?
Right. Well, it's
But
perfect
I
right there.
rearranged out here, and that thing gets used more than these couches.
Oh, I believe it.
Oh, I'd be there all the time.
I believe it.
People love it.
I love it. I love dominoes. But
But we
I
do that too. Pre-COVID, we have chess sets out and backgammon and things and playing cards.
Yeah.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean,
People
they
love it.
really get used.
Yep.
Absolutely. Again, you're relaxing. You're having an experience with the people you're with. It's a great way to unwind.
I'm remiss because we didn't give the address.
Oh, okay.
Pairings. We need to get the address to the folks so they know the address of the location of Pairings.
Okay. It's 12 West State Street in Media, Pennsylvania. And Media is in Delaware County.
Yes.
Yes, just outside of Philly.
Okay, now we're going to talk about the lounge a little bit because you have memberships.
We do.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the membership, pricing,
Sure.
and what do they get.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so we do have members. The annual membership fee is $600. We have the ability, though, to offer something that a lot of folks can't, which is our bar. So members get a discount on all beverages.
nice.
They get a nice discount on single sticks, box purchases, discount on food because of the kitchen, discount on accessories, and also if you are a member, anyone you bring with you gets the same discount.
Wow.
So if a member brings in 3 or 4 friends, that whole group gets to enjoy that discount during that visit.
Then you have lockers?
We do. Oh, so yes, that's included as well.
Okay, so
That's-
locker for $600 you get
$600 a year. You get
Wow.
the locker, and you get all those discounts on all those different
Now,
items.
you mentioned a whole bunch of friends coming up to guests. How many guests can a member bring?
If we have seats for them, they're welcome.
Really?
Yes, we have one member who generally comes on a Friday, like mid-afternoon, and he'll bring with him anywhere from 1 to 6 friends. And they'll take over a spot, and
But no, that's
Yeah,
that's a great
they
idea
all
because
get that
they become members.
Yeah,
They're like, oh, we
perhaps.
love this place.
sure.
When they're there, they sit there for 3 or 4 hours. They have 2 or 3 drinks each.
Right.
They're having a good
Grabbing
time. They're
sticks.
relaxing at the end of the week, and they feel this is great. And we got a little perk, so I don't know, everybody wins.
Yep.
Yes. Now, I cut you off. I'm sorry, Tony, because you didn't finish. There's another question
Okay.
that comes
Oh,
with.
yes, the
Ask
ketchup.
yes.
All right, so especially coming from PA,
Yes.
we know that the ketchup of choice is Heinz.
Yes, and in my house, my wife is from Pittsburgh. There is no other ketchup.
There is no other ketchup. So Stone actually posed this question months ago. If you go to a restaurant and they don't have that Heinz glass ketchup bottle, which we know is a little different now that COVID's done or here, but they don't have Heinz, does it lower the standard of that restaurant in your eyes?
In my family, yes. For the reason I just said. We only serve Heinz at Pairings, by the way.
Okay.
So your hot dog comes with a packet of Heinz ketchup and mustard.
Okay.
So yes, how about you?
Probably not. But I would tell you that just by default, we are a Heinz family as well. That's the only product we buy.
Now,
Mustard,
can you-
except for the Polish mustard I buy. I'm half Polish. Sorry, everybody, but I do like Polish mustard, especially on kibasi. But yeah, we're Heinz family.
See, in my opinion, that most restaurants nowadays, some years ago, they used to have the bottles on the
Yes.
table.
Yep.
Nowadays, they just give you that little red, generic plastic
Yes.
bottle.
It's
You don't know what's in there.
Oh, you're right.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, you got French fries, whatever you're going to put your ketchup on. Does a person really know the difference? The average person, this is not Heinz ketchup. Well, they got this from the dollar store. So that was my debate. To say at the end of the day, because years ago, that bottle used to be on the table.
Yes, right.
But nowadays, you ask for ketchup, they give you that little plastic orange, red. Hey, here you go. Here's ketchup. You don't know what's in there.
I don't use a whole lot of ketchup unless it's on something, so I don't know that I'm really.
But know the
tasting
difference.
it.
Okay.
Well, like he said, if they brought ketchup out in a little cup, would you be able to tell the difference between?
I don't know that I could. My wife absolutely could.
See, that's my point. So that was my whole point.
Yeah.
So that was the whole debate. Because, like I said, many years ago, that was true. That they had the glass bottle Heinz that you could never. And then if you had a brand new bottle, that was a pain. You had to get the knife and get it all out because you couldn't get it. That whole
Do you
thing.
know the
bottle,
trick?
neck of the bottle.
You know the trick?
Well, the guy had to get the knife.
No.
Whoa,
You
talk
turn
to
it
me.
around and you hit it on the 57.
Well, yeah, I hit on the
And
57.
It has to be on the 57, on that part of the bottle where it says 57, and you hit it.
Okay, I was a bottom guy, stick the
No,
knife in.
On the 57.
See, folks, if you're listening, you're learning something new.
My sister went to college with one of the Heinz children
Oh.
and taught her that trick as well.
Oh, so you get the
Yes.
secrets out.
So
They're
that
going to be
was-
upset about this.
That was a Heinz
Proprietary
family
secrets are getting
secret.
let out.
Never hit the bottom because it won't.
No, it doesn't work.
You have to tap it to get some air.
Side.
To get air in the neck. Otherwise, it's not going anywhere.
See?
I always say tune in. You never know what we're going to talk
Yeah.
about. But I'm
You
gonna
never
go-
know what you're going to learn.
I'm going to go back to the Facebook comments for a quick second. First of all, Rick Evers is on. He says,
Hey, Rick.
"Hi,
Hey,
Rick.
Hi, Rick.
So,
Good to see you.
Rick,
here
I
too.
need,
Hey,
my,
not that
I
Rick.
need my cigars, Rick. my wall's starting to look empty. And then Dennis Paradin, he says, Pairings was the launch site for Survivor's IPA charity beer.
That's right.
And he said, amazing people, awesome place, would not want it any other way.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you very much.
And then we've got Dan Grillo again. He says, if the establishment does not have Heinz, do not walk, but run out.
I'm glad I said we carried it.
yeah, how about that? Right.
Yes, we do. We have standards.
Let me ask you. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
How did this podcast come to be?
I used to have a job with the government, and I was privileged to fly around the world with this job. I was air marshal. So I would meet some amazing people.
Okay.
and sit next to somebody for 10 hours at a time, they would have great stories.
Yep.
So I thought, man, how would I be able to captivate their story, because I can't tell their story like they can.
Yes.
So I was thinking, okay, you know what? Again, the same effect. I go to Cigar Lounge, meet some great people, and again, they tell a great story. So I'm thinking, they can tell these. I can't tell this story like they can tell the story. So it was one of those kind of concepts. I used to do music. So I was a music guy many years ago. I said, you know what? A podcast would be great because I need to captivate and grab these stories. But again, they can tell the story like they need to tell the story. Me telling the story doesn't have the same effect. So for that reason, I said, you know what? The pandemic came.
Yep.
I had a little time. I said, you know what? I'm going to do it.
Good.
I'm going to put the podcast together because, again, just meeting great folks who love the leaf, whether they smoke or not, but some of these stories are amazing. And I said, you know what? I think this is an opportunity for me to start the podcast. So I thought about the name. I said, okay, different names came about, but I said Smoke World because I was able to travel the world.
I love it, yeah.
And said, you know what? I do smoking. I smoke around different lounges around the world. I'm going to name it Smoke World.
I like it.
Came up with the concept of Smoke World. So the podcast came about, I guess, actually next month will be, I guess, 1 year.
1 year anniversary.
1 year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank
Happy
you.
anniversary.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you. 1 year. So Smoke World has came about based on the love of the leaf.
And I like
great
your
people.
story. And I like your story.
Oh,
I do
thank
too.
you. Thank you.
It's funny how we ended up live. So I had heard through the grapevine that he was kind of looking for avenues to get those stories. I said, you know what, why don't we meet once a month? We'll do it at Spartan. I'll see who I can get to come in.
Sure.
So far we've done pretty good. We did not do last month. I had something going on. We didn't have any guests lined up, so I think you ended up at a ladies' night that
Yes.
you were able to do.
Yes,
So,
session, yeah.
so it all worked out anyway.
Good.
But the very first night, I had Rami here from Jungle. And I love Rami. Such a sweetheart. So Stone shows up. I said, oh, by the way, we're going to go on Facebook Live, too.
Yeah. Out of nowhere. Oh, really? My face is not designed for video.
And that first month was a disaster. More so than this was. We didn't have a microphone. We were filming off of an iPhone. We were sitting here on the couches. The iPhone was over there where Stone is. And you couldn't hear a damn thing. But we had fun, and we grew from there. We learned we needed a microphone.
Yep.
We learned that the couches were not the most comfortable place to sit and have a conversation. And it's just started to grow from there. And each month we do it, it gets a little bit better, a little more interesting.
Sure.
And I love doing it.
It's the hot thing now.
Right.
Podcasts are where it's at.
Yes.
Really
Yes. Game has changed. Game has definitely changed.
So if it's not your podcast, what do you listen to?
Interestingly enough, I did listen to podcasts prior to this.
Okay.
So it was one. Yeah, no, really. It was one of the kind of scenarios like, okay.
So what made you decide to choose it?
I think that was the easiest platform to be able to get the
Okay.
message out to the masses of people.
Makes sense.
So the podcast was like, okay, how can I get the message and the conversations that I want to have to the masses? The easiest way was the podcast.
Sure.
Done.
But video, now this year, this year I'm going to have to go to video because people want to see something.
Okay.
Human nature, human creatures, they want to see, they're visual creatures.
Yes.
So they want to see something. So again, Tony's like, you know what? We're doing Facebook Live, but I'm like, my face is not designed for that. I'm not pretty
Oh, no,
like
I
you
said,
ladies.
I said I have
So-
a face for radio. I
Right,
have a
right.
face
So
for radio.
a face that your mother only can love.
Yeah.
But this year I'm going to have to start to rethink some things and maybe do short videos again because folks want to see something. This experience right here, people want to see. Hey, what was that experience? I want to see that because radio's theater of the mind. You have to paint the picture for folks when you're on radio or podcast. You have to really get into detail so they can have a concept of, all right, what was it like there? So we don't have to do that anymore because technology, we can actually do video. So I'm gonna have to start maybe next month, honing in, doing some video,
Okay, great.
changing the game a little
And
bit.
that was kind of why I wanted to go Facebook Live. Maybe this conversation isn't so interesting to them out there. Maybe some of the banter we sometimes come up with isn't, maybe they can't relate or whatever. But I wanted the folks I've had people from California,
Right.
all over the place. And I wanted them to come in and see what our family's about.
Right.
this is what we are. This is what our lounge is about. And if you make it here to Maryland, maybe we're worth the stop.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, you're a destination.
I feel you guys were the same way. Like, you come in here and you're a stranger but once. After that, you're family.
Right.
So we welcome everybody. Our members are wonderful. I think our members.
Yeah, this is family.
Right.
This is a family.
Our
Most
members
lounges are family.
Some are very commercial, I think.
Okay.
Like you might find one or two people that'll stop and talk to you, but I find some of the bigger places you can go into and kind of get lost. And it's maybe just you and who you're with, or maybe it's just you.
Right.
But I have been to some great lounges across the country prior to being here. And just try to do here what I liked about all of these.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So I'm gonna ask the ladies one by one. What do you find most enjoyable about the cigar? I mean, we talk about the culture. Is that one of the things that you find that you love? That the people that you meet and the atmosphere, the conversation.
Yeah, so I call this the great common denominator.
Yes.
As we were
I
talking
agree.
about before we went on earlier, it brings together people that may never otherwise cross paths.
That's very true.
And it becomes that one thing that conversation can stem from. And so that's what I love about it. For me personally, I just enjoy it's an opportunity for me to just kind of slow down. I'm at home, on the deck, right?
Yes, sir.
Cigar, nice drink, and it's an opportunity for me to just take what I would call what we try to sell or provide, I should say, Pairings is a 2-hour vacation. And to me, it can be that, and it's a social thing. It's also something I do alone. So for me, when I'm by myself, it can be a slow down kind of thing, but it's a great social lubricant, perhaps you could
Yes.
say, as well, because again, it gets people talking, and I love that about it as well. And I'm an educator. I like to learn. I'm curious, and so I find this whole thing fascinating. To learn about construction and all of the things that go into this final product, to me, is so intriguing. And I just can't learn enough about that.
The number of hands that touch that cigar, that
Yes.
grow the tobacco, that
The process.
The process is amazing, and it's intense. And for me, because my background is human resources, and I'll always be an HR geek at heart, I'm fascinated by culture and how companies develop cultures, how cultures happen, and the culture of cigar bars. I mean, to your point, they're different, and yet there's a similarity to most of them in terms of you feel that experience. And it's one of the few places I think left, and I'd love it if we could just kind of take the culture of the cigar community and kind of infiltrate other parts of our society. It's one of the few places where you can just be, and everybody's accepted, and this would be a good kind of a litmus test for what society should look like, what the bigger culture should look like, because it's a place where just everybody's just allowed to be, and culture just has always fascinated me. And I went out of like the HR realm, about 20 years ago, and really focused on organizational development, which is about culture change.
Yes.
And how do you infuse cultures? How do you make cultures kind of better or different? And I recognized, I think we all recognized in our own way, coming from different disciplines, that our personalities were going to infuse pairings. And what was that going to look like and feel like? And now we're getting to see it, and we're just kind of giddy with it. I hate to admit it, but we are. We're loving it. And saying, wow, this is kind of the best of everything we thought it could be. And I'm fascinated by that whole process. I really am.
And that's a good segue, because I'm actually going to have a town hall. And the town hall is going to be with the Sisters of the Leaf, because I've noticed that over the years, more women are getting into smoking a cigar.
Yes, for sure.
But I think there's a challenge, in my opinion, with the lounges and the Sisters of the Leaf. How can I get those Sisters of the Leaf to feel comfortable enough to come out to those lounges like the men do on a regular basis without being at an event, anything special going on? What is the challenge? What is it that they would like to see at the lounge to make them feel comfortable to come on a regular basis, on a daily basis, to the lounge? Because I think there's a challenge with lounges I've been through, that there is not a consistent amount of, or a diverse group of women, men ratio to me. So I plan on having a town hall. So I propose this question to you ladies. What is that challenge? What do you think you were going to see that'll make you feel, and again, not to say that you don't feel comfortable, but I don't see enough women, because I know plenty of women who know this leaf, you know what I mean, knowledgeable, great smokers, great people, but they're not there on a regular basis as the men. What do you think is the missing component? What would you like to see as a woman? You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, because I mean that's one of the challenges I noticed. I tell folks, I said, look, if you got a lounge, you got to listen to this conversation, because at the end of the day, I think this is a challenge for most lounges to have that frequency of women who smoke, and there's a lot of who smoke. So why don't they come on a daily basis? Is it something that they don't feel comfortable with? What is that? Yes, absolutely.
Let it rip.
Let it rip.
Absolutely.
I totally agree. Everything that you're saying, and I think there's probably two things that I've noticed that I think done a good job of dispelling that at Pairings, and I think you do an awesome job of doing that here. And that is, there are a lot of women, and we have a group of women, our SRTL group. When before COVID, we got them together on a regular basis, and talk cigars. But women like Allie from Drew Estate, good, really smart, clever, ambitious, great women who know cigars, to talk about not just the product but the culture. And the first thing I always say is, please, please, please. I know this might offend some of the listeners, and I apologize profusely, but please stop showing 19-year-old women smoking cigars on the cover of magazines, tucking their lighter in their bra, because you know what? No one lights a cigar with this and then tucks it because they'll burn themselves. It's not what we do. We are as serious about smoking as you are. So please take us seriously. And the other thing is, in your shops, and we never had a problem with this. We were very lucky with our staff. A lot of the women that come into our shop say, we love coming here because the first thing you say to me isn't, oh, are you buying cigars for your husband or your boyfriend? Or, oh, and they take them right to infused or little tiny ones, assuming that's all they smoke.
Right.
The women that we know that we have in our SOTL group or that come to Pairings, they are badass women who smoke some very full-bodied cigars. They are not your little cigarillo girls. And they're bright and they're smart, and don't pander. Don't pander. We are, maybe this is just the aging feminist in me coming out, but to me, just treat me the way you would treat my husband if we came in together. And hopefully you'll treat me that way when he's not there, because I'm a consumer. I have money to spend, and I deserve your respect because, and I'm going to give it to the people that come into the shop, because I'm here to enjoy the product and to learn and to experience it. So why am I different?
Thank you.
Why?
Thank you.
I'm not.
Thank you.
Sounds good. I've toned it down a little bit. I can get fired up on this. You have no idea.
You did. You kept
we're going to talk again.
I did.
You
But
did.
to
You
your
really
point,
kept it.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Cut you off.
No,
But
please
it's
do.
a very legitimate point. And I take, Gina, I'm going to throw you under the bus real quick.
Gina?
I'm throwing you under the bus.
Hi,
Sort
Gina.
of.
Hi, Gina.
We're talking about what we can do in the industry to make women feel comfortable to come in by themselves and sit and enjoy a cigar. And I know Gina has told me she doesn't want to go to a lounge where the guys sitting around are gawking at her.
Right. Like in a club.
Trying to get with her. And you don't want that. You want to come, to your point.
Right.
She comes here to sit back, relax, and enjoy her cigar, just the same as Stone or Rick or Ed or anybody else
Correct.
would do to come in here,
And, I'm sorry. I have
Sure.
to say, I'm sorry. It's coming out. You are entirely gawkable, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. But you shouldn't have to ungawk yourself to be sitting in a place like this.
Yes.
You should be able to come in here, be who you are. What are you smoking, by the way, Jim?
Oh, I'm smoking the H99 now.
Oh.
Okay.
Big time.
So
my
this is a
lady.
woman who knows her cigars, know what she likes. She's beautiful, but you know what? She's a consumer of cigars. She likes luxury products. End of story.
Yep.
Boom. Drop the mic. End of the story. Yo, this is what we're talking about. These are conversations that are taking place in the lounge. Sisters of the Leaf, we love you. You should feel comfortable coming out to the lounge, relaxing, enjoying your smoke. I'm not going to say apologize for the audio because that was rough, raw, right in the lounge with some different type of microphones. But guess what, folks? I appreciate you listening to another episode of Smoke World. That one is in the books. You can follow me on Instagram, Smoke World Podcast. Email, stone@smokeworldpodcast.com. And the website, people, come on, this is a rhythm. You can say it just like I can say it, smokeworldpodcast.com. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, do all that. Tell your friends, tell your cousins, tell your family. Appreciate you listening. I will check you out on the other side, folks. Peace.